There came a day when heaven gathered, beings of light, standing before the throne of God, and among them came one who walked the earth in darkness. A voice was heard.
Where have you come from? From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it.
Then a name was spoken in heaven, Job.
Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth, blameless, upright, a man who fears God and turns away from evil.
Does Job fear God for nothing? Have you not surrounded him?
Blessed everything he has, placed a hedge of protection around him?
Take it all away, and he will curse you to your face.
Very well. All that he has is in your power, but the man himself you must not touch.
And so, the test was set. On earth, nothing had changed, but in heaven, everything had already begun.
Before we begin this powerful story of faith, suffering, and restoration, take a moment to subscribe to the Christian Faith.
Also, don't forget to like, comment, and share. Now, let us enter the story of Job.
On earth, that man was living his life, unaware of what had just been decided in heaven. In the land of Uz, everything was still at peace. This was Job, the man heaven had spoken about. Blameless, upright, one who feared God and turned away from evil. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters, a home filled with joy and the sound of laughter. They lived in unity. Each of Job's 7 sons would hold feasts in their homes in turn, and they would invite their 3 sisters to eat and drink with them. It was a cycle of celebration, house after house, day after day, a life of peace and shared joy, without fear, without knowing what was coming. He owned 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, and 500 donkeys. With many servants, he was the greatest man among all the people of the East. And yet, with all he had, he remained devoted to God. Early in the morning, Job would rise and offer burnt offerings, one for each of his children. For he said in his heart, "Perhaps my children have sinned and cursed God in their hearts." This was Job's continual practice, a life of intercession before God on their behalf. So he prayed, not out of fear, but out of faith. He had everything: peace, family, blessing. But in heaven, his life had already been placed into the hands of a test. And on a certain day, everything began to change. His sons and daughters were feasting together in their oldest brother's house. His land was at peace. His work was prospering. Everything was as it had always been. Then suddenly, disaster struck. A messenger came to Job and said,
"The oxen were plowing, and the donkeys feeding nearby. When the Sabians attacked, they carried them off and struck down the servants. I alone have escaped to tell you."
While he was still speaking, another came.
"Master, fire fell from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants. I alone have escaped to tell you." Master Job!
While he was still speaking, another came.
The Chaldeans formed raiding parties. They swept down on your camels and carried them off. They struck down the servants.
While he was still speaking, another came.
Your sons and daughters were feasting together when suddenly a great wind struck the house. It collapsed on...
In a single day, everything was taken. His wealth, his servants, his children, gone. And in that moment, all of heaven watched to see what he would do. After the news had come, there was nothing left to say. His children were gone. His wealth was gone. His world had collapsed in a single day. Then Job stood up. He tore his robe as sorrow filled his heart. He shaved his head and threw himself face downward on the ground. Everything he had been taken away. But then he spoke.
I was born with nothing, and I will die with nothing. The Lord gave, and now he has taken away.
In all this, Job did not sin, nor did he charge God with wrongdoing. But the test was not yet over. And again, there came a day in heaven. The sons of God stood before the Lord, and Satan came among them again. And the Lord said,
Where have you come from? From roaming throughout the earth, going back and forth on it.
Have you considered my servant Job? There is no one like him on the earth. Blameless, upright, still holds fast to his integrity. Even after everything, he did not turn away. Skin for skin, a man will give everything he has for his own life. Strike his flesh, and he will surely curse you.
The Lord said,
He is in your hands, but spare his life.
and Satan went out from the presence of the Lord, and on earth Job's suffering was about to deepen. And again, what was permitted in heaven reached the earth. Job had already lost everything, but the test was not finished. Then his body was struck. Painful sores covered him from the soles of his feet to the crown of his head. He sat among the ashes, scraping his own skin, searching for relief, but finding none. The man once called the greatest in the East now sat in silence, in unbearable pain. Then his wife spoke.
Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die.
But Job did not break.
Shall we accept good from God and not trouble?
In all this, Job did not sin with his lips, but heaven was not finished watching. Now when Job's 3 friends heard of all this evil that had come upon him, they set out from their places. Eliphaz the Temanite, Bildad the Shuhite, and Zophar the Naamathite. They came together to show him sympathy and to comfort him. But when they saw him, they didn't recognize him. They tore their robes and wept aloud over what they saw. Then they sat with him on the ground for 7 days and 7 nights, and no one said a word, for they saw that his suffering was very great. The man who once was the greatest in the East now sat in silence, surrounded by friends who had no words. Not comfort came, not answers, only silence. But silence never lasts forever. Soon, words would begin, and everything would be questioned. After 7 days of silence, Job finally spoke.
May the day I was born perish. Why did I not die at birth?
And with those words, the silence was broken. Then Eliphaz the Temanite answered,
Who, being innocent, has ever perished? Consider now, who, being upright, was ever cut off?
Then Bildad the Shuhite replied,
Does God pervert justice? If you were pure and upright, he would restore you.
Then Zophar the Naamathite answered,
Should your words go unanswered? You claim innocence, but God knows your guilt.
But Job replied,
I am not guilty of what you say. My integrity remains.
And so the debate began. Argument after argument, accusation after accusation. But Job could not understand why suffering had come upon him. One question now filled the air. Why does the righteous suffer?
I made a covenant with my eyes. I will not look with lust. If I have walked with falsehood,
Let God weigh me in honest scales. Let him examine me, and I will answer him.
if I have done wrong, then let me be judged. But I have not hidden my sin. Oh, that I had someone to hear me. Let the Almighty answer me. Let my accuser put his indictment in writing.
And Job finished his words, and there was silence. No reply, no sound. But the silence did not last. Then, a storm appeared. The wind grew, the ground shook, and fear filled the air. And out of the storm, the voice of the Lord spoke.
Who is this that darkens my counsel with words without knowledge?
The man who demanded answers now had none.
Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?
When the morning stars sang together, who set the boundaries of the sea?
Have you commanded the dawn? Do you know the paths of the deep?
Job had nothing left to say, and in that moment, the questions of man met the wisdom of God. And the Lord said to Eliphaz the Temanite,
My anger burns against you and your 2 friends. Take for yourselves 7 bulls and 7 rams, and go to my servant Job. He will pray for you, and I will accept his prayer.
So they did as the Lord commanded, but God was not finished. And Job prayed for his friends, and heaven heard him. And the Lord accepted Job's prayer. And in that moment, everything began to change. The Lord restored Job's fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. And once again, his family was blessed, sons and daughters. Joy returned to his house. Everything he lost was restored, not as it was, but greater than before. Job lived 140 years and saw his children and his children's children to 4 generations. The man who was tested became the man who endured, and through suffering, his faith remained. What was taken was restored.